Wanted to welcome everyone who's taking the time today to attend. This is going to be some general information on what's going on as far as the financial markets, what programs the government is working on putting in place to help people that are affected by this unprecedented event that we're going through right now. And I'm going to run down through the bullet list of questions that I was given by CMHA to start with. First question they wanted to address on the list was, what happens with people that need to look at suspending payments on mortgages, car payments, bills, that sort of thing? Every financial institution has put a program in place. They're all very similar, but they're all being administered individually by the different banks and lending institutions. Unfortunately, everyone has to contact the financial institution, and it's being done on a case-by-case basis. So it's a matter of reaching out to them. A lot of them have given dedicated phone lines, tried to add staff, so there's not a long wait, but there has been a long wait for a lot of companies to get through to address that situation. In general, they're all offering a deferral of payments. What that means is that the payments are not waived, they're just added on to the end of the loan. It's important for people to understand, if they waive their payments fully, that means that because that payment, by not being made, means it's going to accrue extra interest, and over the term of the loan it'll cost more for those payments that are skipped. Realizing if you don't have a choice, that it's a nice benefit that they're offering, and if you need to take advantage of it, it's certainly there. As far as rent, payment of rent is still required as part of the Residential Tenancies Act in New Brunswick, but because they declared a state of emergency, the ability for landlords to enforce failure of rent payments has been suspended until May 31st. So even if you don't pay your rent, your landlord isn't able to evict you for that non-payment. The rent is still due, but their enforceability is been put on hold because of the enactment of the Emergency Measures Act. So people's rent is still payable, but there's no enforcement for landlords currently. So it's a discussion with your landlord. If your pay is cut off, a lot of the government programs have yet to come online. It's a matter of having a conversation and saying, look, I'm not going to not pay my rent. I've been waiting for income, or I don't have any income, and sorting it out that way. The support measures the governments have put in place have been very fluid. So right now, the federal government announced the program, and then they announced a change to it. The program, as it stands right now, is going to come live early in April, and people will be able to make an application for up to $2,000 a month of benefits for up to 4 months. The province has come on board with a benefit that offers a $900 one-time payment. They're saying they're going to administer that benefit through the Red Cross, but again, no announcement as to what the process is to make application. So the government is stepping up with benefits, but they don't know what the benefits are. So next question that they wanted me to address was what's going on in the markets. It's the biggest turmoil I've seen in the markets in a long time. And the worst time to be looking at making changes or adjustments to investments is at a time like this, when the markets are so severely affected. The best course of action, often when things are this tumultuous, is to basically stay the course. If you're properly invested, you're well diversified, keeping your investments in the same mix they're currently in will avoid you jumping out of the market when it's at the bottom and incurring a real loss, as opposed to just staying invested so that when the market recovers, your investments have stayed where they are, so they recover their value. Because these type of situations, the losses are paper losses until such time as somebody actually pulls the trigger and says, no, I want to sell out my interest in that investment fund because I want to get to safety. And so that's the short answer on what do I do on investments. If you are sitting on a big pot of money, it's always the time to invest is when markets are low. Nobody ever knows where the bottom of the market's going to be, but getting in the market when it's low means you're going to be there when it recovers to see a good boom in the growth of your investments. As far as where do I go to find some of the programs, If you currently work with an advisor, hopefully they're staying in touch with you to be able to tell you, to give you some of those information. If you're not, I'm going to be putting together a list, and people are welcome to email CMHA, and I'll make sure that they are given the list of all the contact phone numbers and how do I get a hold of different places. And as the programs come live, I'll make sure I keep them updated so that those links are effectively passed on, so people have access to that information. Because right now the biggest issue for people is, where do I go to apply? And unfortunately, there isn't any place to go to apply. The only benefit that's live right now is the EI sickness benefit. That is a benefit that's live, but it's only live for people that qualify under the normal rules and procedures for EI. They are waiving the waiting period, so there's no more 1 week waiting period, and they're waiving the necessity of having a doctor's note to be able to prove that you need to collect sickness benefits. If you're caring for someone who has coronavirus, or you're affected yourself by coronavirus, you can apply for the sickness benefit. That doesn't help people that are self-employed. That's one of the benefits that they're looking at modifying, and that's the program that's not yet live. Next question on the list was, how do I plan for this? How you plan for this is you need to look at the resources you have coming in and the requirement of the resources going out, and make sure you're trying to manage that balance so that you can suspend maybe the payments that you can suspend for some of the programs that are being offered, to make sure that you have the money to pay the necessities that you have to pay. Food and shelter are the most important things, so those are things you want to sort of prioritize over everything else. Yeah, that's the hardest thing right now, is especially when people's income is affected and they're not getting any money coming in. It's, how do I prioritize what money I have? This is a time to make sure that you have a nest egg to rely on. This is where, you know, if you don't have that and you're finding yourself very short, that's the reason some of the programs have been enacted, so that if you can't pay your rent, you're not going to be put out in the street in the middle of something like this. So be diligent and watch where you're spending your money, and stay on top of things as far as being able to apply for the benefits when they do finally come live. Now, that's the extent of all the information that I've gained together for now, and I don't know if anyone has any questions specific to a situation that they'd like to ask, but certainly I'm certainly open to be able to answer any questions that I have the ability to answer. If it's something I don't know, I'll happy to tell you that I don't know, and if could be able to get the information and get back to you. But I'm going to kind of open it up to questions right now. In terms of the government benefits, is there anything for people who have their hours cut due to COVID-19? I'm down from 40 hours to 30 hours per week. My brother is down to 24. The answer to that is yes. Unfortunately, they haven't addressed how they're going to deal with that. The EI sickness benefit doesn't cover that type of benefit. So that's a benefit that's going to be covered by either the provincial one-time payment of $900, which they're offering, or that will be covered under the federal program as far as people affected. That's why they're saying it's up to $2,000 a month. If you're still getting some income, there will be an ability to get an enhancement or a top up to that income. But as yet, it's not been clear on how that process is going to work yet. Next question was, someone asked about automatic payments. Anyone that has an automatic payment for any sort of savings vehicles, yes, those can be stopped. It's just a matter of contacting the financial institution to let them know that you want to stop them. Most of the financial institutions are working with their clients and their customers to deal with automatic payments for bills as well. But any automatic payments for savings, they can definitely be stopped. It's a matter of calling to stop those. Next question was someone that's concerned about the self-employment benefit. They're saying it's going to come live soon. They're saying early in April. The province has announced they're supposed to have their benefits coming live in the next couple of days. I would encourage everyone to keep checking the Government of New Brunswick website. That's where the province of New Brunswick is going to announce the process for their benefits. The federal benefits, if you go on canada.ca, those programs and benefits will be announced there. Again, I'm extending the offer to anyone who's not sure what to do. I'll keep CMHA informed as things come live, so you can always check back with them. And at the end of this, I'll happily provide my contact information if anyone wants to reach out to me directly. Next question. Do you know anything about the property taxes that need to be paid? Can these be deferred too? They haven't specifically spoken yet to property taxes. Property taxes are due by the end of May. They do have a program they brought in a couple of years ago that allows people to pay their property taxes monthly. I know that's something that the province is looking at, but it has not yet been addressed. Next question. What about daycare? That's a question I know I've had a lot of clients ask me about daycare. A lot of daycares are still requiring their customers to make monthly payments because the daycares are saying they still have ongoing benefits and payments they have to make. And they're telling people if you want to save your spot, you have to make your payment. If you don't pay your daycare, you're risking losing your spot. I know that's something that's been brought up to the politicians. Some daycares are collecting benefits from clients that can't send their children anymore because they're closed, but they've reopened under the Emergency Act and are taking other children and collecting payments from them. So that's something that, as present, that's not been addressed by the government, but I know it's something that will be that's going to be looked at. Will the GST be? So the federal GST rebate, it'll still come on its normal schedule. Initially, they were talking about using that program as a means to get some enhanced money into people's hands, but that changed with the last announcement federally. So the GST is going to be processed like normal. So if you're due to get a GST check, it will be a regular check. Income tax filing. They've extended the deadline to file your taxes currently to June 1st, and payments aren't required until September 1st. I expect that's also going to be changing. The longer this goes on, they may well push that out. As of right now, June 1st is the new filing deadline. September 1st is the payment deadline. So if you have taxes due, they're not charging interest or late penalties till after September 1st. I hear saying the federal government. The new, and yes, that was brand new today. The federal government announced a 75% wage subsidy for small businesses. That's if the small businesses are keeping their staff on. So that's a subsidy that allows, if I have, employee A that's working for me and I choose to keep that employee working, the new subsidy originally was 10%. Now the subsidy is up to 75%. So like all the other programs, the government hasn't really announced the process, how that's going to work, but that's an incentive to the business owners to try to keep employees being paid. Whether they're working or not is irrelevant. If they're still getting paid by their small business employer, that program would allow the employer to apply for that subsidy of 3/4 of your wage. So if you're making $1,000 a week, they could get $750, for example. Again, I haven't looked at all the details of that yet because it was just announced today to see what the specifics are and what the income cutoff levels are. But that is a program that was announced today. Next question was about income tax refunds being delayed. That's actually not the case. If anything, they're being sped up. One of the services my firm offers is we do taxes for clients, and people are seeing their refunds in 7 to 10 days. So if you're due a refund and you're wondering about where do I access money, getting your taxes done sooner than later is definitely a way to get some cash back in your pocket because they are processing them in a fairly timely manner. Can self-employed who are still working at the moment, who have low income due to the coronavirus, still apply for the money program? Yes, the program, again, they haven't brought specifics for that program to bear yet, so I don't know what the process will be, but I know it's going to address people that have had significant income disruption. So yes, I'm encouraging everyone, once they announce the program, if you're self-employed, it's better to apply and see and answer all the questions honestly and see what benefits they're going to be able to give you. But the idea of the program is it's designed to be able to fill in people that have been affected, and there are a lot of people that are working, but they're significantly impacted because of the amount of reduced work that's going on right now. Next question was, there was a mention at one point about a supplement to the child tax benefits starting in April. That's been sort of put on hold or stopped. The announcement today was the new benefit that's $2,000 a month. Instead of doing the enhanced child tax benefit, they moved over to this one combination benefit. And simply the reason for that is there was going to be a delay in being able to process the enhanced child tax benefit money. The earliest they looked like they could get that to happen was going to be May, which was too delayed. So they replaced that idea with something else. It could change again. Again, I'm going to reiterate time and time again, continue to go back and check those websites, or find a source that you trust and you can go to, that's going to be able to keep you updated on this information, because things are changing almost on a daily basis. So you want to be able to talk to them to keep track, so you know when you can apply, because it's going to be very, very busy when it finally opens up. So you want to be able to do that. All right, now back to the other questions. Okay. What's the best place to get reliable information for the changes? The two direct sources would be the Government of New Brunswick's website and the Government of Canada's website. They are keeping them updated. As soon as there's an application process to make application for the benefits, there'll be links in their sites to be able to apply as soon as those links are available. So that's going directly to the source. So the two sources that there are going to be to apply for benefits is federally through Canada.ca and provincially through the Government of New Brunswick's website, gnb.ca. Both of those sites, again, I'll make sure that CMHA has those links so that they can provide those to anyone who's looking. So somebody popped in the question and answers and said yes, they got their taxes back in a very timely manner. So that's nice to hear that there is indeed some independent confirmation that they are getting processed fast. I know from our own firm's experience, they're coming very, 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 very fast. Any other questions that anyone has as it relates to any of these type of matters? If you have concerns or you feel like you're not getting the proper information, for example, if your landlord's telling you if you don't pay your rent, you're going to be evicted. If you ever have questions like that where you feel like you're not being told the right information, go directly to the government websites. Service New Brunswick, you can go to a link for the Rentalsman. It clearly states, it's right in the Emergency Measures Act, talks about the sections of the act. So if somebody feels like they're getting bad information, check with a reliable source. The government websites are the best. Again, I'll happily provide all my contact information if people have questions and want to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to help anyone any way I can. Yes. If anyone has questions in French, absolutely, Cecile is there to be able to translate and help with those questions. I'm sorry, I wish I spoke French. Unfortunately, I don't. But yes, Cecile is there to be able to translate if somebody wants to. If there's somebody listening that has questions that wants to ask a question in French, Cecile is absolutely here to be able to translate. Actually, Cecile, you want to answer that question in French in case somebody wants to ask a question in French?
Oui. S'il y a quelqu'un qui a des questions en français, moi, je peux les traduire. Ça fait que n'hésitez pas, donnez vos questions en français, puis je vais les traduire, puis je traduirai la réponse aussi. Ça fait qu'il n'y a pas de problème avec ça. Merci. Je pense qu'on a une. Do you think that a lot of people will lose their job due to COVID-19, and will the enterprise, like all the enterprise will lose their employee? I'm going to make sure that I have the question right. Can you hear me even if I have the chat room open?
I can, yeah, you're coming.
Oh, okay, because I wasn't sure. This is new to me there.
Yeah.
Okay, do you think that a lot of employees will be scared to lose their job due to COVID-19? And do you think that all the enterprise will do a lot of layoffs?
So I think it's a very legitimate concern for people to be concerned about what's going to happen to their jobs. The issue right now, it's not, there's no fundamentals wrong with the economy. Right now, we're being asked to sort of shelter in place and stay at home and isolate. So a lot of businesses that depend on traffic, restaurants, bars, gyms, spas, all those type of businesses where people would go to get services and pay for those services, they're all suspended. They can't work. And so most of those businesses don't have enough of a cash reserve that they can keep paying all their employees, which is why the government stepped up with a lot of the benefits they're trying to put in place. Unfortunately, it's the government, and it's going to take a bit of time. That's the most stressful thing for a lot of people right now. Is April's only a week away, but April's a long time away if you haven't gotten paid since last week. So it's very stressful for a lot of people. I don't think there'll be long-term business impacts to this. That's why the government is stepping up with wage subsidies, and they want to make sure that we are able to come out the other side of this, whether that's 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. Once things open up again, I believe there'll almost be a boom, because if I haven't been able to go out to eat at a restaurant for 6 weeks or 4 weeks or 3 weeks, there's a good chance that restaurant's going to be awfully busy when they do finally open up again. Going to be the same thing. I mean, I'm sitting here talking to you and I need a haircut, but I can't get my haircut anywhere because the haircutting places are all closed. So that's the answer to that question as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Do you want me to translate, or?
Yeah, I think it would be. Yeah, I think it'd be beneficial if you could. Yeah.
OK. C'est un peu difficile dans le moment pour dire comment est-ce que c'est que ça va tourner. Puis c'est pour ça que le gouvernement fédéral a mis en place pour les petites et moyennes entreprises avoir de l'argent liquide aussi. Puis aussi pour garder les employés, ceux-là qui vont pouvoir travailler, parce qu'on sait que les restaurants, il y a beaucoup de choses qu'à fermer, puis que les petits employeurs ne peuvent pas payer leurs employés. Mais aujourd'hui, le premier ministre a dit qu'il allait donner de l'argent. Mais c'est sûr, c'est le gouvernement, ça va prendre un peu de temps. Déjà que la semaine prochaine, on est déjà en avril. Fait que ça peut prendre un petit peu de temps, mais ils pensent que ça ne va pas durer si longtemps que ça. Ça fait que le gouvernement va embarquer, puis ils vont donner de l'argent aux petites puis aux moyennes entreprises pour qu'ils peuvent réembaucher les employés de nouveau. Puis aussi qu'il y ait un peu d'argent. Est-ce que ça a répondu à ta question, professeur? Parfait, merci. Okay, she said, thank you.
Perfect. No, that's great. Yes, question, how to plan a budget in these uncertain times. That's a really hard thing, because for people that are out of work and their income stopped, but the government programs haven't yet started to bring income in, I'm going to go back to something I said earlier, which was prioritize your spending and make sure you say food and shelter are most important. Because of the state of emergency that the province declared, you don't have to worry immediately about your shelter, because you're not going to be evicted from your apartment. So food becomes the most important, and medicine. So those are the two things that you want to prioritize. And it's hard, because if everyone's stuck in their home, there's not a lot to do. There's also not a lot of places to spend your money. Thankfully, right now, you're gonna have that as a benefit. But it is a scary time, because if you put off your payments, then it's budgeting and figuring out how am I going to catch those payments up. If I skip 3 mortgage payments, I don't have that kind of surplus income. How do I factor that in? And that's going to be a conversation that everyone's going to need to have once we've gotten through the other side of this, and they figure out, okay, there's going to be some recovery benefits, I would expect. Again, the government hasn't announced those benefits, if they're going to be any. And so it's really diligent to watch your spending. You know, it's really a difficult time. NB Power I haven't seen an announcement. That said, I also didn't go to look at their website about what they're doing about payments. They would be very similar to now there's not a specific mention of them in the Emergency Act. So, but NB Power is an organization that is going to work with their customers. It's better to be proactive. So if you're not getting paid, it's better to proactively call them and say, you know what, I'm waiting for them to announce these government benefits. I'm not going to be able to make my bill payment this month, so that they're at least aware and have a note on their system. Just not paying the bill is worse than letting them know that you're not going to pay the bill, because at least they'll make a note of it. I fully expect they'll come to the table with something, but as yet I have not seen that.
She's asking what's going to happen now that Canada Post is closed. Will the orders from the internet will be canceled?
I checked before I got on the call today. FedEx is still operating. Purolator, some of the courier companies are still operating, but they're operating under their quarantine procedures. So we had a package dropped off today at my office. They left it on the doorstep rather than bringing it in and setting it on the counter like they normally would. So some package delivery is still being done. That said, again, I would defer back to the particular company's websites to see how they're handling this right now. And you're going to oftentimes check back over and over because it's going to change on an ongoing basis. There's never been anything like this before, and a lot of companies are sort of flailing around trying to figure out how do we protect our employees, how do we protect the public, but how do we still maintain some level of business. So that's an uncertainty that I don't have an answer for.
OK. Fait, est-ce que tu as compris la réponse ou que tu veux que je traduise? She says, thank you. And I guess she's good in English or in French is fine.
Oh,
yes,
so okay,
she understood. Yeah,
okay.
She understood. Yes.
She's got me beat.
Yeah.
Okay, that's yes.
Yeah.
Someone just commented that Canada Post is still delivering as they got packets today. Again, that's changing on almost an hourly basis. Someone else asked in the chat, will holding off the payments affect my credit rating? No, as long as you make arrangements with the credit grantor. So if you contact your mortgage company, your bank, whoever's got your loans, if you're utilizing one of the programs they've put in place for this occurrence, it will not affect your credit rating. If you just stop making your payments without contacting anyone, it absolutely will affect your credit rating. So most important thing is to reach out to your bank, your credit lending institutions, and find out what programs they have, and be patient because I know some of the waits are extremely long on some of the toll-free numbers. I've found the earlier in the day you get on the phone, the better chance you are to getting through. But yes, it's really important to make sure you're reaching out to those credit granting organizations so that it won't affect your credit rating. Yes, the Bank of Canada dropped. Someone asked, will the Bank of Canada dropping, with the Bank of Canada dropping rates again, how will it affect mortgages? Mortgage rates are at an all-time low, and I expect we'll see some impact from the rates dropping again. That said, I've been talking to a lot of clients about renewing their mortgages early just because the rates are at such an unbelievably all-time low rate. I realize that seems counterintuitive. Everyone's talking about stopping their payments. One thing I will tell people is if they're looking at renewing early, there are certainly a lot of really good deals out there right now. You can't renew early if you've put your payments on hold. So you can't take advantage of both benefits. I did have a client that renewed early. Once the renewal was done, they planned to suspend their payments, but that would be the process. Again, that's a matter of reaching out to whoever you're dealing with as far as banking institutions with questions on, hey, how do I take advantage of some of these low rates, because rates are very, very low. Next question, someone asked me, what are renewing mortgages early? Is the low rate worth the penalty? That's a case-by-case independent individualized calculation. We would look at going on and doing those calculations for clients and say, what if it costs $1,000 to pay a penalty to renew early, but you're going to save $6,000 over the next 5 years of the term of your mortgage? That's a one-on-one question, and if anyone wants to have those type of conversations, I would encourage them to talk to their bank or their lending institution, or I'm happy to, if anyone has questions like that, I'd be happy to field those any day of anyone that would want to look at that. We'll just a second back to the chat. Will the government help nurses regarding a lack of medical equipment and masks? That's a really tough question. I don't know what they're doing about the supply of personal protective equipment for people in the healthcare industry. I know that we're lucky in New Brunswick, we don't have a lot of cases, but I know there is a lot of protective equipment needed just doing testing for people. I don't know of any shortages in this province, but that's an issue all around the world that everyone's dealing with. And I'd like to say I hope the government's going to step up and be able to do that. It's going to come down to a question of supply and demand. And I know businesses around the world are ramping up supply for those type of things. So I'm hoping that's not becoming an issue in this province. I was late getting logged in and missed your credentials. Just wondering how you came to be doing this for CMHA. CMHA asked, I'm a professional financial advisor. I own a company in Fredericton called Life Stages Financial Group. I've been doing financial planning work in the province of Brunswick for almost 25 years. They were reaching out for someone to answer some questions, and I was happy to be able to be someone they could ask, they could put up to answer questions people might have had. I'm happy to provide all my credentials via email to anyone who'd like to know that. So I know, oh, another question popped in the Q&A, just one second. What are mortgage rates now? Mortgage rates vary. There's a number of factors that go into determining what mortgage rates people would be offered. What I can tell you is mortgage rates are at an all-time low. Seems like I've been saying that repeatedly for 2 years, and they keep getting lower. I know right now we've seen rates as fixed rate mortgages as low as 2.3%. So rates are incredibly low, and it's certainly, that's, if you can ever say there's a benefit from something bad happening, that's certainly a side benefit of everything that's going on. Rates are at an all-time low. So it's hard to get into a specific on what rates are. If you look at any institution, they'll publish what their rates are. What I will tell people is there's oftentimes negotiating room in what those rates are. So you always want to make sure that whoever you're working with is looking out for your best interest and trying to get you the best rate that's available. But rates are very, very low. Can you clarify your mortgage, renewing your mortgage? My mortgage is 1 year old and it's a fixed 5-year. So renewing the mortgage early truly means exactly that. Renewing it early, whether you've got 4 years remaining on your term or whether you've got 2 years remaining on your term, you always have the option to renew your mortgage early. There's a number of options when you do that. You can work with your current lender and they'll oftentimes give you what's called a blended rate. So I've got 4 years left and my old rate's 3.9%, but the current rate's 2.5%. And they'll do a math calculation and give you a blended rate. That's one way you can renew early, and oftentimes if you do that, you'll avoid paying any penalties. You'll just be able to sort of average down your rate with the remaining time. The other option for renewing your mortgage early is to break the term. So I'm gonna break my mortgage term, and that requires finding out what my penalty is going to be if I do break my term, and then you negotiate a brand new 5-year term at the current rates. So that's where we talk about the math calculation to say if my penalty is $3,000 to break my term, but I'm going to save $10,000 in interest costs over the next 5 years, that's better savings for me, so it may be worth paying the penalty. Again, very important to do that on a case-by-case basis. So you want to sit down with someone who can help you through the math and make sure you answer all the questions. What do you think the chances of getting proof of work? Yeah, for anyone who's laid off, I've got a number of situations. I'm working with people on that now. Yeah, if you're currently not working, income proof is one of the criteria to qualify for a mortgage. So it will impact, so you might not be able to take advantage of the low rates if your employer's laid you off. If you're simply off work because you're quarantined and you're still getting your regular paycheck, it won't affect your ability to renew your mortgage. It will affect it for people that are laid off though. And yes, and someone asked if I'd be willing to talk to them specifically privately. Yes, anyone that has specific questions, I'll make sure that my contact information gets to anyone who wants it. I'm happy to look. I'm happy to answer questions for anyone. I can't imagine the stress that some people are feeling. So if some people have individual questions they want to ask, specifically one-on-one, I'll happily make my contact information available. And I'm happy to answer anyone's questions. There's never going to be a charge for answering questions for people, because I can't imagine the stress some people are feeling. So I'm going to see if anyone has any sort of follow-up questions. I'm by no means looking to stop talking early here, but if we've answered everybody's questions, I'm going to make sure that CMHA has my contact information. So if somebody wants to reach out to me specifically, that I'm happy to provide that. Oh, okay, yeah. So there, I can. They're telling me I can just. I'm going to type out my contact information for anyone who wants to reach out directly. I'm assuming everyone can see the chat box, but if this doesn't come through, then please let me know. So that's my contact information. I just put it in to the web chat. That's my email address. And anyone who wants to reach out to me, turnaround time is probably about a day and a half right now. We're getting quite a number of emails, but okay, I think everyone should see it now. That's my email address. That's the best way to contact me. Yeah, I see everyone's got it now. All right, there. I'm also learning Zoom as I go along here. So look, I appreciate everyone taking the time today to jump in and have a listen to what we're talking about. Like I said at the start, try to keep yourself informed. That's the way to alleviate as much stress as possible. I'm happy to field questions from anyone. If you've got no people that are stressed out and don't know what to do, please feel free to pass along my information. I'm, if I can give them an answer, I'll happily give them an answer. Yeah, and if there's need for a follow-up meeting, we can certainly. I'm certainly happy to do that if that's something that CMHA wants to look at doing further on down the road. Perfect, guys. Well, look, thank you very much, everyone, for taking the time today. And if anyone has any follow-up questions, please feel free to email me, and we'll end with that. Thank you very much.